I'd like to call to order the August 19, 2014 meeting of the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners, and we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance followed by the invocation. Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you'll join me in prayer. Thank you for our children who are returning to school this week. Bless our wonderful teachers, administrators, administrative staff, cooks, janitors, maintenance, and all folks who make each of our many schools work. Remind us of the important investments we make in education and how the students of today will one day become our teachers, leaders, and business people of tomorrow. For each person involved in education, fill their heart with enthusiasm, understanding, compassion, judgment, and a sense of justice as they will be teaching our future leadership the rules and how to be the best people they can be. Put the hand of healing on the good folks who have contracted the Ebola disease from their good work in Africa. Calm the people of the Ferguson, Missouri community and help us to find a peaceful and a reasonable resolution of the tensions that exist in that community. And God bless each commissioner here and each county employee for everything they do to try to improve the quality of life in Buncombe County for each and every resident who lives here. Amen.
Amen.
In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the Commission, it's the duty of every commissioner to avoid both potential and actual conflicts of interest. Does any board member know of any possible conflict of interest with respect to any matter coming before us today?
No.
If not, we'll proceed to public comment. The time limit for the board public comment is 3 minutes. If your time expires, you can leave your questions along with your name, address, phone number, or email with the county manager or county clerk. Board members are not expected to comment on matters during public comment. This is your time to talk to us. Comments should be limited to subjects that are within the jurisdiction of the Buncombe County Commission or pertain to matters upon which we may act. Any individual speaking during public comment should address the entire commission. Any polling of commissioners is inappropriate. Persons addressing the commission are expected to observe the decorum of the chamber and be respectful of everyone in the room. Any person who willfully interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts the session will be asked to leave the meeting. The board reserves the right to deny public address on any subject previously presented to the board. I'd like to recognize our sheriff here. Thank you for being here, Sheriff Duncan. And I will open the floor to public comment. I would ask again, as we mentioned in the pre-session, that any comments about the Pack Place funding to be held until we get to that matter so it's close in time to when we discuss that issue. Mr. Yelton. And who wants to speak after Mr. Yelton? Next to Mr. McGee there. Mr. Sadler, thank you.
Must be doing good. Managed to come back to the next county commissioners meeting. I want to address a couple of things. Number one, I think too much business is being done on the consent agenda without being explained to the people. If you look at the taxes being collected on the consent agenda, you find that there's automobiles that's been got too high mileage or actually lower value, and that should be reported here public where the people can see it in Buncombe County. That might help them a little bit with their taxes, and they need all the help they can get. But when I read the minutes, I see this. Don Yelton asked that the existing laws be enforced in reference to the change-free discussion. And yes, that's true, I did. And he also commented on a problem he had encountered with grandfathered properties under the zoning ordinance. No, that does not cover what I said here. What I said here was very simple. First and foremost, when was the definition of grandfathered changed, and by whom changed it? Do not mean grandfathered. What was the statutory authority to permit this change of a well-defined legal term? Third, when did the county commissioners adopt and approve this change to the definition of grandfather? Now, General Statute 132 says this: the keeper of the records is the person to provide the information. So this is not a question for Wanda Green. We've already had that debate. She is not the keeper of the records, and this is not extra work for her. So I will personally be delivering this to you, Chairman Gant, and also I will be delivering it to Wanda Green so she'll know what's going on, and a copy to the attorney, and a copy to the clerk of the board, because the first question is the clerk of the board's question. The second question goes to the attorney, and the third question goes to the clerk of the board, because she's the keeper of the records. So that's where it goes. And I would like to add, we are in trouble, David. You see a lot of hatred throughout this country, a lot of unrest. And I think a big part of it comes from no interaction between the elected officials and the public. We feel like we don't have any representation. When we ask questions in here and we ask for information, I have to come back and ask for it again. I just went through this with the school board this week. They said it was going to cost an exorbitant sum of money, and they're going to have to spend a lot of time going through computerized records and a lot of staff time to get a list of the solid waste treatment plants the county school system has. Now, we all know if it's going to take them a long time to do that, they don't know what's going on over there. So I did have a talk with Tony Baldwin, and he said he thought he could get it real easily for the person that requested. But the General Statute 132 permits us to go to the state if they don't do it, and if we disagree with what the fee is. So public comment and public information is a very serious matter. So let's work on that to create more communication, David.
Yes,
we
sir.
can do it even though we don't agree.
All right, sir. Thank you, Mr. Yeldon. Mr. Sadler? And who wants to speak after Mr. Sadler? Mr. Harwood.
Good evening, County Commissioners. My name is Timothy Sadler, and first want to commend Commissioner Gant for your sentiment on the tragedy in Ferguson. That's actually what brings me out tonight. And I also want to take a moment to thank Sheriff Duncan for his leadership in the community. Recently attended a meeting with both Chief Anderson and Sheriff Duncan, and I thought it was very constructive. Unfortunately, just days after that meeting, what happened in Missouri, is something that is still lingering out there in our country. And I'm here tonight to hopefully make a suggestion that would work toward Commissioner Gant's sentiment of pursuing peace, a peaceful resolution. As many of you are aware, through Department of Defense their generosity, we've received armored cars, grenade launchers, assault rifles, and the community is not okay with that, particularly with what's going on in Missouri. There's a growing conversation about how the general public and law enforcement can coexist. And I'm here to submit that we have an opportunity to show leadership as a county and as a community and take those surplus goods and have them melted, smelted, turned into revenue for good social programs in our community. The Urban Leadership Institute, Asheville Green Opportunities are two prime examples. This is something that could become a movement of give peace a chance, and we have the opportunity to take that role of leadership. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sadler. Yes, sir, Mr. Harwood. And who wants to speak after Mr. Harwood? Okay. Oh, Mr. Rice.
I just received your letter from the county attorney, so I've not had a chance to read it in preparation for today. But Chairman Gant and members of the County Commission, my name is Eddie Harwood. Last Commissioners meeting, I presented a follow-up to the formal complaint on the Buncombe County Register of Deeds office closing. This closing was in violation of county policy, but more importantly, it broke North Carolina General Statute 161-8. Public documents revealed the Register of Deeds, Drew Resniger, knew of the policy but chose to ignore it. If Mr. Resniger had followed the law, this board would have come into open session to give permission for the closing of the Register of Deeds office. To the best of my knowledge, you did not do that. If you did, please provide the minutes of that meeting. This misconduct cost the taxpayers more than $500,000 to rectify. Since then, additional public documents have been revealed, even more damage caused by the illegal actions of this individual. In a review of real estate transactions, multiple legal documents stamped in the tax office were unable to be properly recorded for days due to the Register of Deeds office closure. This review represents only real estate transactions and not other areas of documentation that must come through this official office. Taxpayers, business owners, and legal representatives could not complete necessary county business for several days. The Register of Deeds office has a state-mandated legal obligation to be in attendance at that office to perform this crucial service. He clearly failed to perform these duties by law. Not only has this misconduct betrayed the trust of the county employees, this illegal closing has damaged taxpayers and businesses which depend on the Register of Deeds but were unable to expedite legal transactions. This board has chosen to ignore their responsibilities to the taxpayers in favor of protecting a fellow elected official, overlooking his violations of ethics and law. However, there is recourse for the citizens with the self-serving officials. North Carolina General Statute 58-76-5 states any damaged party can file a claim on a bond. Let me read a part of this general statute for you. Every person injured by the neglect, misconduct, or misbehavior of any register, sheriff, county treasurer, or other officer may institute a suit against the said officer and their sureties upon the respective bonds for the performance of their duties in the office in the name of the state. We, the taxpayers of Buncombe County, are in fact the injured party because we are the ones you have saddled with the payment of over $500,000 for the Register of Deeds misconduct. As a result, we, the people, are proceeding with filing a claim against Mr. Resniger's bond unless you choose to do so first. I ask you, Mr. Chairman, and every commissioner, if you choose not to do the right thing by your fellow citizens, why do you choose to serve? And if you force the taxpayers to recover our hard-earned money, then why do we need you? Thank you.
Your answers are in the letter. If you'll take time to read that, I think you'll get your answers. That's fine. Yes, sir. Mr. Rice. Mr. Pryor, go ahead.
This issue that he just brought forward, for the last 2 weeks, people's asked me what we've done. I have sat and told people, I can't tell you. And he is, you know, he's put out a lot of stuff here, and I guess it's legal. I'm not an attorney. We'd have to ask our attorney. But at one point, we were going after Mr. Reisinger's bond. Best I can tell, this whole issue is not dead, and the taxpayers do deserve an answer. Ever how we have to get to it, if we have to turn it back over to staff to figure out a way to make this work, that is basically where I think we need to go with this, because the story's not over. These numbers that I'm looking at are statutes, and they're state statutes, and you attorneys would have to tell me something that's better. But at one point we were going after the bond. There's a letter that I got 10 minutes ago too of what we'd done. So, but I'd soon to not bury this aside, because too many people have asked me about this issue, and I've sat there with my mouth shut telling them I couldn't tell them. So I make a motion that we do something. I don't care what it is.
This is public comment. That's out of order. Mr. Rice, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mr. Yelton does bring up a good point. That is, the minutes of your meeting on public comment certainly don't follow the law and say it's really what you said. If you look at what I said, you couldn't tell what I said.
you know, you got to take the good with the bad. I hope the Association of County Commission will take up the cause as well to look at all the boards of commissions in regard to public comment and how the comment that was made about the public, how we get slapped around for what we might say. I think it's a constitutional thing that we need to be looking at there. And Association of County Commissioners, they ought to have this on their agenda sometime to talk about the public. Then we might get somewhere rather than just one little commission body. Another thing is the county manager's report. I've asked for her report to be put on the agenda prior to the meeting so that it's not a surprise to us. We know it ain't no surprise to y'all, but her information should be on there in advance as well, and I've asked this on a number of occasions. The other thing is the Medicaid, the Association of County Commissioners. I know Medicaid is a very big issue, and it should be. The legislators are putting it off to the fall for good reasons. It's a big money piece. And it's also a big money piece for our local people because it's going to dig into our local sales tax money and some other things if we look at it locally. So it does mean something. Another question, and while you're looking at properties, you might need to look at the property that we're selling that was over next to Charlotte Street on the mental health building for $800 and some thousand. That money should be going into a trust fund of some kind for the mental health, and that money was bought through the money that was Medicaid at the time through Old Blue Ridge Mental Health. And we need to take consideration on how we use that money. So I'm giving that to you in advance. One other thing, the volunteer fire department money, if we're doing this new thing with the fire departments, I'm just wondering if we need to look at the consolidation of some of these things rather than putting out these bonds, even though it's tax exempt. We need to look and see if our new plan and our new districting of these things might be affecting and could save some money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other public comment at this portion of the program of the meeting tonight? In my discretion, I'm going to ask Mr. Deutsch to talk about the letter that was produced today in response to Mr. Harwood's earlier questions about what this board has done, and I'm also going to take that as part of Commissioner Fryer's inquiry at this point to take that up right now. Just if you could just go over what your letter you did send. We got a request at public comment. We responded in writing. If you could share a little bit about what your thinking was there, Mr. Deutsch.
Yes, well, this was actually something that was given quite a bit of consideration and investigation on my part, and also on the part of the county manager and other staff of the county. I reviewed what occurred, possible responses on the part of the county. I checked with the Institute of Government, did legal research. I reviewed the terms of the bond. And the bottom line was, and I believe everyone agreed with me when we discussed this, that the chance of recovering on the bond, which is only $50,000 total, that's the maximum amount that we could recover, are extremely unlikely for a number of reasons. Number one, that the bond is there primarily to guarantee financial integrity on the part of public officials, and also there's to comply with certain enumerated duties of the office. And I did not think this situation with closing the office came under that and did not come under the terms of the bond. I have actually been involved with a lot of litigation over bonds, and I know that these bonding companies are very, very reluctant to pay on any bond. And when the county manager checked with them up front, she received that information that they would probably not pay, but if we wanted to submit a formal claim on the bond, that was okay. They would give us a formal answer. And the other main point I'd like to make is that the cost that was just mentioned is a theoretical cost, and it is actually possible that it will not cost the county anything if the circumstances involving emergency personnel do not occur. So for everybody but emergency personnel, basically there would be no cost if someone took 13 additional hours of vacation. For emergency personnel, where it is required to maintain a certain staff level, it is possible that they would have to call in somebody extra on that time, which could be an actual cost. In order for that to occur, you'd have to have the particular office staffed at exactly the minimum level, so that if anyone had to go pick up their kid from school, if anyone got sick, if anyone had any sort of an emergency, there would not be sufficient staff, and they'd have to call in somebody overtime, from off duty. So the only way we're going to actually know what the actual cost of this is at the end of the year. So I advised the county that I didn't think that the cost of litigation for the potential amount that we could recover and the likelihood of recovering under the law, matched. I just thought that it was something that we didn't have a good enough chance on.
Okay. Any questions?
Just a comment, if it's okay at this time. I understand Commissioner Fryer's frustration in this, and you get questions from the public, you get concern, and and so I appreciate the additional information from the county attorney. I think that's very helpful for the public. Also, I just want to make it clear that when this came out, that I said that I wanted to file against his bond. I think Commissioner Fryer said the same thing. And then there's been discussion since that time, and there's clarity that needs to be done. I too would like to wrap my head around that number and understand that, but I want to make sure that the public understands that there has been dialogue, there has been movement, there has been things being done, and it's some of this process is probably going to take a little bit longer than what people think, but I just want to make that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? If not, we'll proceed with the agenda. Is there a motion to follow the agenda, which, as we've discussed, which removes the Fairview Volunteer Fire Department new business and adds public comment to the Pack Place funding recommendations?
Second.
The motion by Vice Chair Frost, a second by Commissioner Belcher. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the budget, which includes adopting the consent agenda as listed, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And we will proceed as we have published. Our first bit of good news is from Todd McGee. He is our North Carolina Association of County Commissioner and President of the National Association of County Information Officers, that will present an award to us, a national award. And Mr. McGee was just up here with the state convention, did a wonderful job emceeing many events for that, and we thank you for your service to both Buncombe County and the rest of North Carolina, and look forward to your presentation, Mr. McGee.
Thank you, Chairman Gant. Good afternoon, fellow members of the Board of Commissioners, Dr. Green. It's my great pleasure to be here today to bring some good news to Buncombe County. As Chairman Gant said, I'm the president of the National Association of County Information Officers, and that is a nationwide group of the public information officers from counties and state associations around the country. And every year we have a contest where we ask our members to submit their best work, and we have 9 different categories, and each category has 2 or 3 subcategories. It's photography, writing, it's video production, it's annual reports. We have a whole list of categories. We got more than 300 entries this year, about 350, which was a good number, a little bit higher than what we had been getting. And then we have these judged professionally Each year we have an awards chairman. This year was Judy Bradley in DeKalb County, Georgia. She arranged for some judges from down there. Each category was sent to a different judge. Each judge then picked a best of class from each of their categories. So we had 9 best of class winners. Buncombe County's video, Forever Free, was the winner in the video category. So then we had the 9 best of class go into the competition for our best of show, and we did that a little bit differently this year. Normally we have the judge pick that, but because we have different judges for each category, it's hard for one person to look at everything. So what we did this year was we allowed the membership to vote. So we posted all of the applications, the best of category entries online, asked our members to come and vote, and they voted for about a week, and it was votes from around the country. And I'm very pleased to report that Buncombe County's video, Forever Free, so not only won the best of category, was actually chosen as best of show for the entire competition. So that's best entry out of more than 350. That does deserve a round of applause. And I'm here to present this framed certificate commemorating the award to Max Tainter and Cataldo Perone, who worked on the video. Kathy Hughes is also the public information officer from Buncombe County, so she deserves a lot of the credit for particularly hiring these 2 young men. But if y'all would indulge us to let me come out here and get a photograph with these 2. And Chairman Gann, if you'd like to come down, and any members of the board would also like to come down, that'd be great.
Congratulations.
And I would be remiss if I didn't say at least one thing about the great annual conference that the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners just enjoyed this past weekend. I just want to give a great big shout out to Dr. Green, to Kathy Hughes, to all the Buncombe County staff. Chairman Gant, even though he came and told an anti-NC State joke at the opening general session, that's all right. I can take it. He was getting me back for a Carolina joke that I told at the NACo conference. So that's even now. We're even now. But we did have a great conference. The weather was unbelievable. We appreciate y'all ordering that up for us. It was just an unbelievable time, and I really want to thank the Buncombe County staff who put all the hours to volunteer and make sure that the conference was a success. So we look forward to coming back here again.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I really wanted to just add, we are grateful for you recognizing the talent of our staff to put together that video, but we would be remiss to not acknowledge the content of that video, right, which is it is documenting the slave deeds in our Register of Deeds office, and Drew Reisinger, our Register of Deeds, drove that. It was his vision, it was his commitment, and consequently, it is one of the many things in our community that is really beginning some fantastic dialogue across races. And a part of our community feels recognized out of that office, and that's a new thing. And that significance cannot be understated, particularly in these last 7 to 9 days that we've experienced as a country. It's a small, it might look like a small thing, but it's a big deal. So your judges were very wise to see that talent, that artistic talent in the editing and all that went in behind it. But you have to have great content in order to rise to that level. And I'm very proud to live here in Buncombe County with the Register of Deeds with such dedication and forethought and vision, and I'd like to give him a round of applause.
And I would just like to add to Mr. McGee, I don't believe I've been to a national meeting that you have not taken time away from your family to be a moderator, speaker, or involved with, and we really appreciate your service both to the state and the national. He's come here from Raleigh today after driving home from the convention, coming right back up here for this presentation, and that means a lot to us. We appreciate it. And finally, to our award winners, this follows up on the website. We were national winners in the best website in the country, any size city, a couple years ago, and we're real proud of you, Max, and we appreciate it. We really appreciate what you do for us. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, well, thank you, and you can get back on the road. Thank you for being up here, Todd. We really do appreciate your service.
Chairman, just one quick comment about the convention.
Sir.
We did have around 400 commissioners here from all over the state, and a lot of their families come, their family members come. The seminars were great. The time spent, collaborating with people from all over the state was wonderful. Most of the commissioners were there at some point in time, and I'm sure those people spent a whole lot of money in Buncombe County, and we would be remiss in not saying thank you for putting us on the list and put us back on the list to come back again. Enjoyed having all of them here.
All right, Cataldo and Max, thank you again, and Mr. McGee, thank you. We also won 7 other awards for videos: Buncombe Life Heart Health, Council on Aging Public Service Announcement, Tip and Toss Public Service Announcement, and Smart Justice, and photography for 911 Remembrance Ceremony, and our Facebook page. So a total of how many awards? 8 total awards on the information. So let's give these folks a hand again. All right. In addition, very good. In addition, we have some awards from the National Association of Counties Best Practice. We have Mr. Sweezy with the Sheriff's Department will tell us about the Cops Award for the Best Practice for Cops Award, if you'll come up. And Sheriff Duncan's here. And then we'll have another presentation after that.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's good to be here, and I appreciate y'all recognizing the efforts of the folks at the Sheriff's Office for what they did to be able to get this national recognition. We sent a PowerPoint. I think Judy's getting ready to put that up. We want to give you a brief overview of the COPS teams, what they do, and a little bit of the design of it. Judy, go ahead and go. There we go. Basically, the COPS teams is a concept where we took 5 people throughout the Sheriff's Office. So the 420 folks there and many different divisions, we took 5 people to bring them together to focus on a community problem that generally dealt with residential break-ins and usually some street-level drug trafficking in certain neighborhoods and those things that kind of go hand in hand that really degrade our neighborhoods. And what we did was we brought those 5 individuals in. Captain Sweezy gave them a one-day training in problem-based learning, and we turned them loose in that community to go out and work on what is very much an ill-structured problem. A lot of different components of it, multifaceted, and they went out and looked for solutions to make that community better, help them have some sustainability there around those issues as to why we were there. One of the things that it absolutely gave us is it allowed members of the Sheriff's Office, no matter what division they worked in, to come together to really go out and gain community advocacy and really work to improve the quality of life in that particular neighborhood. And it gave those individuals the opportunity to kind of see the big picture of the Sheriff's Office, what we're really all about in delivering service. If you look what the 18 teams have done, and we are in our 18th COPS team right now. The current team is working out in Leicester. Thank goodness that we haven't had an upsurge in residential B&Es, and I'm going to save the good part of that for the very last. But you can see some of the things that the COPS teams accomplished. They had 31 community meetings, which going out and getting input from the community where we need to put our resources was tremendously important. It lets us better focus and come out with better results. You can see many of the things they did. 350 saturation patrols in these communities, 56 checking stations. They actually, of the 17 previous COPS teams, they cleared 71 cases of breaking and entering in the different communities where they went out and worked. 464 citations, that's to include warning citations, and served 157 warrants, 280 charges in all, and 183 arrests. And the great thing about it, because we involve the community, we go out and we start everything with a community meeting, and we end that 30 days by going back and giving them a report on what's been accomplished. The community really felt a part of this, and unlike some other situations, they didn't feel like police were there or law enforcement was there just to do to them. They felt part of the solution and got to participate in the sustainability of those efforts. Next slide. A couple of things that weren't really focused externally from the Sheriff's Office is we had one of the COPS teams focus on getting together our Sheriff's Executive Reserve Volunteers, or our SERVE program. That was something that was initiated from a COPS team effort that we have serving today, and we have 12 of those volunteers currently working out serving the public for no cost to the public. We had a wellness committee that met, and much of their suggestions went on to our county manager and assistant county manager, which kind of got folded into Buncombe County Fit, which has been something that has benefited all the employees here in Buncombe County that we're trying to take care of and keep actively involved in their jobs. They also, one of the COPS teams looked at SharePoint, and that's a Microsoft program that we're beginning to use now to better share information and keep our officers filled in throughout the agency on things that are going on. We appreciate that award very much, and like I say, it's really helped us gel as a sheriff's office to where everybody sees the big picture as to what we're supposed to be doing. And I thank you folks for giving us the opportunity to present it.
Thank you, Sheriff Captain. These are national, again, not state awards. They're pretty high level. We're mighty proud. Sheriff, thank you, and Captain. Next, we have Lisa Eby with the Health and Human Services to tell us about two other best practice awards we have received for community threat assessment and diversity. And I'd ask one commissioner want to go present these.
Okay.
Let's
start with.
I want y'all to go down there. Good.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I'm very proud to talk to you tonight about two awards that we were given. I'm most proud because these are awards, again, that are interagency awards and really are unique in the sense that we take our role and responsibility as county government seriously and understand that we have a unique position as being an anchor institution to really bring about collaboration and partnerships in ways that other agencies or organizations might not be able to do in the community. So the first one that we did is the Community Safety and Security Team. And this was a partnership with the Sheriff's Department, with Health and Human Services, with Rebecca Knight, who was very instrumental in researching the law and helping us get a partnership together across agencies. We have Veteran Services involved, we have Mission Health involved, we have AB Tech involved, KWA's here as well. We have University of North Carolina at Asheville. You can see it's a big community project, and the goal of that project is to really ensure that we're doing our best to get information that can help us assess safety and risk in our community and then act in a way that can proactively meet the needs of people who are of concern and also meet the needs of the community and the safety concerns of the community. This group arose out of much of the concern that was happening to us nationally after Sandy Hook and Aurora and some of the other shootings that occurred. But it was also at a local level when we saw the increase in domestic violence that we had, as well as when we looked at Health and Human Services and the kind of cases that our social workers were dealing with and the increased violence and the increased risks and the increased threats that were also happening to our staff. And so this premise of this group is that we together, by working in a coordinated fashion, can really create a distilled image of what risk is and then find ways to really help and address that in a proactive way that meets the needs of those that might need mental health services, might need supports about housing, and help them as well as help to community members. I'm going to let Sheriff Duncan speak a little bit if you have anything you want to add to that, because it has truly been a partnership between all of these people.
I think you covered it very well. One of the things that we did was we kind of took that same process that we take with the COPS team and also that we took with putting our school safety plan together to kind of be proactive and not wait for the crisis to
Right.
completely unfold. But
And we're using it based on best practice, using tools that the FBI has developed as well that really create a structured process for assessment and the gathering of information, which is also very helpful. So we did get the award for that.
And
Recognized.
Angie or
yes.
Judge Knight, do you want to say any words? We're all appreciate your contributions.
Judge Knight,
Thank you.
you guys accept. Just you can accept it. The sheriff.
He's lead on it.
That thing fires them off,
Thank you. Thanks. And then the next award that, if the people who are involved in that are here could come up, that would be great. This is for the, I thought we had Dave Carr here from Dave, you want to come up? This is for something that we've been working on now for probably 2 years. And again, it's another interagency collaboration. It originally started with the city, the Center for Diversity Education at UNC Asheville and the county. And out of this, we have done work that I'm very proud of that has looked at the community and said, we can do better to make our community diverse friendly. We can do better to make sure that multicultural professionals in our community feel welcomed and that they have the ability to advance professionally in their careers. Asheville is a diverse community in many ways, but it's also a very white community. And we would like to make Asheville diverse-friendly as we go forward, and that's our hope. We have a goal of promoting 100 professionals across 6 anchor institutions in the next 3 years. And the anchor institutions that are involved in this project, again, it's those backbone organizations. It's the city, the county, University of North Carolina at Asheville, AB Tech, MAHEC, Mission Health, and the Chamber of Commerce has recently gotten on board with us, and we plan to open this up to the greater community. But when you have organizations like AB Tech that are developing our workforce and providing opportunities for education and training, as long as UNC Asheville and then the largest employer like Mission Health involved in this, it really does give us an opportunity to make a difference. And this has been a very, very busy group of individuals. We've held professional development classes, and continue to hold professional development classes. We hold coaching calls. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Michelle Ashley, who came to town and said, I want to get involved, and has donated hours of her time to this effort. She's a professional life coach. And so it has been truly, we have a Facebook page, a web page that people can go to, sign up for mentors and sponsors. And so it has been a really exciting time for us, and I feel like we're really getting lift. And this award is just one way of recognizing that work as well. So
Wonderful.
And Holly's been very involved in all this. Commissioner Jones, do you want to say anything?
The national award.
Good guys get out there. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner Jones and Ms.
And I
Eby.
should have said, Commissioner Jones has been very active in this. She's been to almost every social and almost every one of the meetings as well, so I appreciate her support.
We appreciate all of you. These are, to get this many, that's about, I counted 10 national awards 1 year. We're proud of that. We're proud of our people. We're proud of the partnerships, and thank you for the hard work. Next, we have a public hearing. We have Mr. Josh O'Connor is going to talk to us about our zoning ordinance text amendment for planned unit developments, also known as PUDs.
All right, we have several changes to the conditional use standards and plan unit development standards within the zoning ordinance tonight, many of which we've spoken about over the last couple of months as we've been expanding the zoning ordinance to include a number of specialized districts. The first change that I'll highlight is an expansion of the definition of a plan unit development, or PUD, to allow for more flexibility when it comes to consideration of height. And it adds a line that says a plan unit development also refers to developments which contain structures which exceed the maximum height allowed within the zoning district. Such plan unit developments are prohibited within the steep slope, high elevation, and Blue Ridge Parkway Overlay District. So what this does is allow for more consideration of height by the Board of Adjustment when they're looking at large-scale comprehensive plans, while at the same time protecting the viewshed of the Blue Ridge Parkway and those steep slope high elevation sites. There's an administrative change to clarify where plan unit developments are allowed, and just to refer to the permitted use table. And there's also a provision that allows the Board of Adjustment some flexibility when considering mixed-use developments to allow uses which may not be allowed by right as part of the conditional use process. When it comes to height limitations, rather than going the route that they would need to go now and apply for a variance, it allows them to ask for additional height as part of their plan use unit development and conditional use permit applications. And in that, it allows the board flexibility. It allows them to look at the whole site and to make sure that the additional height is in line with the community without asking the developer to prove that there's a hardship somehow unique to that piece of property. That basically they're showing that the development in total can somehow accommodate or buffer against those additional height requests. In addition, it also allows for reductions in parking. Right now, for most residential development, we require 2 parking spaces per residential unit, and over the last year, we've seen a number of requests for reductions in that standard because we're seeing a lot of decreased vehicular demand, particularly in rental property and apartment-type dwellings. And so that covers in a nutshell the overall impact of this is it has some implications for expanding developments that could be considered affordable housing, because by allowing them to compress the footprint of the site while going up, they can build more units with less buildings. And it also has some environmental implications as well, because it can leave more of a site undeveloped as open space by allowing them to compress their density into one side of the development. The same thing with the parking standards. It's allowing the developer only to develop the parking that they need rather than meeting a code that looks at parking standards very broadly rather than with their specific use. So with that, I can try to entertain any questions that you may have.
I've got one. I think Commissioner Jones and I, and a little bit before her time even, have worked hard on the steep slope ridgetop law and the Blue Ridge Parkway overlay. To me, that's one of the more important things we've done for the future generations. How much leeway is there in this?
This wouldn't apply.
I understand when people have it tight where we want them, that they ought to be able to build up. I get that, and I think that's good for affordable housing. I think that's good. But I also think it's critical for us to maintain and be good stewards of the natural beauty we have, and that's why we pass these laws. So tell me how you balance that in this amendment.
This particular proposal, what it does is it makes the property outside of those 2 overlays more developable. So kind of pushes development pressure away from those 2 overlays. It doesn't allow for height variation or the plan unit development height increases in either the steep slope, high elevation, or Blue Ridge Parkway overlay districts. So no net change there. We would expect that a developer proposing additional height beyond what's allowed by default in the zoning district would show how they're buffering against that or making sure that there's viewshed protection for the surrounding community.
And is the buffering or the viewshed part of the mandatory considerations when these as of right changes are made outside the districts?
Yeah, it would be something that they would present in their total application package. Typically what I believe we're going to see is the sites that we're looking at for these types of height increases are going to be rather expansive, so they're going to provide their own buffering by having 1,000-acre tracts, and there are other ways to do it, buffering against terrain. In some cases, this actually allows them to stay off steeper portions of the property, so increasing the height on the flatter portion of the property actually has less of an impact than the shorter building would on a more steep portion of the property, particularly with the way that we measure height.
So would you feel comfortable in summarizing it that this does not take away from our work on the steep slope or the Blue Ridge Parkway, but gives more flexibility we're outside those places where it's still not going to impact the intent of those two ordinances.
Correct. The way that we look at it, with the way that we design the land use plan, is to look at the most developable land in Buncombe County where it was flatter, next to infrastructure, next to transportation corridors, and try to give incentives for developing that over developing more rural properties or properties that were steeper and more encumbered. So it fits in line with that portion of the land use plan. As part of changes that the Board of Commissioners made earlier in the year, or late last year, the Board of Adjustment also has to consider how a particular development fits within the land use plan. So the developer is going to be showing how that particular property is more developable because it's next to transportation corridors, because it's flatter, because it's outside of areas that we might consider hazardous. So I think it fits well within a system that we've been working for several months to create.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. O'Connor before we have our public hearing? Hearing none, we'll start. Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. We'll start our public hearing on this proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance plan unit developments at 5:23. Any members of the public wish to be heard? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I am Mike Reisman. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the Asheville Regional Airport. While the action in front of you is by no way specific to the airport, I really just kind of wanted to simply point out that this board obviously has taken some action in recent weeks and months to establish new zoning classification and bring the airport into that new zoning classification, to establish certain efficiencies, and obviously as with the zoning approval of the county now over the airport over the last few years. This particular action certainly provides for some efficiencies and for some streamlining of the type of future development that's potentially expected on the airport. The airport staff therefore supports the text amendments, and more specifically some of the height limitation stuff and some of the, and to a lesser degree, some of the parking text amendments would certainly be beneficial as we look at the possibility and some of the future development activities that we expect to take place on the airport in the future. Again, with that, we support it, and that's all I have to add, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for your good work at the airport. Big expansion, big news out there. We appreciate your giving us a better and better airport. Any other members of the public wish to be heard on the zoning text amendment? Mr. Rice? Anybody want to speak after Mr. Rice on this amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You know, people can look at me and people look at others, think they're the ugliest thing in the world. What's that got to do with this? You know, we're all about protecting the view from the parkway. We're all about beauty because we got tourists. You know, it don't matter whether they think I'm ugly or pretty, but as long as I'm a good person, I contribute and I do good, I think that ought to be the consideration in the zoning ordinance. Now, I'm bringing this up because I've witnessed a lot of building, but along the corridors, it's getting less and less, and the height is going to have to go up according to some. Because land, you know, the rich people's got the land, and they ain't going to turn loose of it. But my point is that the building of the height is also getting into the lower part of the property, and you're having to fill in, build up, and you better consider the flooding and how that is going to impact these high rises and how the build up for property is affecting property beside it. Because out on 1923, there's 4 different businesses been put in there, and they've been built up on pads, but got trenches between it. And if we ever have another flood, we might not be as lucky as having the water from Hominy Creek to go in the quarry out there. Because if it didn't go in that quarry, it would have wiped out the Inca property. It would have wiped it out, along with other things. So I think there's some consideration here that before you vote on it, you need to be asking some hard questions that's not being said. Because it sounds like a variance that is getting around really the tough questions that needs to be asked to give developers the edge. And, you know, they'll take it if you give it to them. because they're looking at the profit. They're not looking at lives.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other members of the public wish to be heard during our public hearing? Yes? Oh, nope, getting up. All right, last call, anybody? Then I'll declare the public hearing on this zoning text amendment closed at 5:27. Is there any discussion among the board or any motions?
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve this. I would like to make a comment, and it's regarding the airport. You know, when they broke out into the you know, as they're trying to streamline this and make it, the word's not, I don't think the word easier is a word to use, but I think to make it better for the public as well as for the businesses and for the airport. There was a height restriction put in one of those, and it concerned me because when you get around airports, there's a lot of bigger buildings. And so I think this does have some flexibility in it. I think it's good. I do think it helps when the affordable housing, we're going to have to go up in some of these areas. And I think to the chairman's point, what this allows is it lets that area or that community, this has to fit that place. So if it's getting close to steeper slopes, getting close to the beauty of the parkway, getting close to that, I think it forces them to consider what's around them in making that decision. But I'm pretty excited about what it's allowing in South Asheville and some others. There's a good article come out recently about, because of the advanced manufacturing that, you know, this board as a whole has collectively supported and has been coming to the area, the growth of these affordable apartment complexes. And so I'm pretty excited about being able to go up and have some free space around them for kids to be able to do things. And so there's a lot of positives in this. So I make a motion to approve it.
A motion by Commissioner Belcher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Frost. Is there any further discussion? I would just echo what I said earlier. I think that we got to be good stewards. I am convinced that this is a ordinance that does not weaken or lower the effectiveness of the steep slope ordinance or the Blue Ridge Parkway overlay. And any proposal to do that, I would be violently against it. But I don't think this does that, because I think there are other considerations, and I'm convinced that Mr. O'Connor and the Planning Board can take those into consideration when they do this. Any other comments? Okay, there's been a motion by Commissioner Belcher, a second by Vice Chair Frost. Any further discussion? Not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the zoning text amendment say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then that amendment is adopted by a 7-0 vote. The next matter we have is, we don't have a county manager's report tonight. We do have we're proceeding under new business. We will be having a public hearing on this, but we're going to have some discussion among the commissioners first. And we'll start off with Dr. Green talking about the Pack Place funding recommendations. If you'll remember at our last meeting, Dr. Green came to us and asked for some further instruction and direction on where we're going to go with this. And this is the follow-up to that, and we're looking forward to your recommendations and discussion of this very important matter. Dr. Green.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, at the last TDA Product Development Fund meeting, they postponed their decision about art museum funding, and one of their questions was, what's going to happen with county funding? And we don't want to be an obstacle to that and want them to be able to make a decision when they go back in September. So 2 or 3 things we want to do tonight. We want to provide you some history on the investment that the city and county have made in the facility. We want to provide you some information on the leases and some of the key points from those leases. And then I want to share with you some information about the funding and some recommendations for you to consider. We're going to start with Donna Clark, who will share the information on the investments, and she will hand that off to Bob Deutsch, and he will talk about the details of the lease, and then I'll take it back.
Thank you. Ms. Clark?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have just a one-page PowerPoint that summarizes the investment of the county and the city since 1988. So, Judy, if you'll bring up that PowerPoint, please.
It's up on the other side. There you go.
So you can see we went back to 1988 and estimated the investment of the county as well as the city. And since that time, the county has invested over $9.5 million. The city has invested a little over $7.1 million. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Most of the city's investment was for debt for the facility. It was principal and interest paid over time, and that was paid off in 2008. And since then, they have replaced a chiller, which you can see in 2011.
So since 2008, there's been one payment of $284,000 under this partnership that we've had with the city.
That's correct, and that was for a chiller for the facility.
I believe that was then Councilman Russell, and I don't know, perhaps
I think I voted for that. Chiller.
Newman and Jones were on the board. I don't know if you're on the board or not at that point. No?
I think I still was, yeah.
Okay.
I was on your team.
On our team. That's right, of course, 2008. So what was your the partnership was approximately equal monies between the city and county for these facilities?
I think our attorney's ready to address that partnership, so I'll turn that over to him.
Mr. Deutsch?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the best of my knowledge, there was no formal partnership. However, I think there was an understanding in between the city and the county that they would each contribute approximately equal amount of money. So, to the best of my ability, I have not been able to locate any document showing any kind of formal partnership. And you want me to keep going on the leases?
Okay. Any questions? Let's divide up. Any questions about the history at this point from any members of the board? To
Well, can you put that back up?
Yes, sir.
The chart, please.
The way I'd like to break it up, if start with the board.
Well, anyway, on that chart, it shows from.
Let me finish, Mr. Fryer.
Yes.
Let me break it up. We'll do the history first, then we'll talk about the leases, then we'll talk about general, then we'll hear from the public. That's all right. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner.
On if it's up there, I was looking at 2008 till from 98 to 2008. The numbers, are pretty close between both entities. Actually less than $100,000. In 2009, we're 475. There's zero. We're 441. There's zero. We're 400 and something. They're 284, and then there's 0, 0, 0. So. We're $2.5 million more invested from the county, so city takes it back over. So it looked like a partnership for a number of years there. Then it just seemed like it blew up. So,
Well, I guess I have a little bit of a different take on that. I mean, I think for years the city was paying the debt service on these bonds, right? And then it got paid off, and so that was kind of the role the city was playing, was paying this debt service, and then. If the debt service stopped, you don't have to pay more on it. So, if we talk more about history, we can do that. I mean, I think the general nature of the relationship going forward, as I've kind of heard different folks talk about it, is, the county has traditionally played this role in terms of supporting the operating costs at Pack Place. We've been doing that, and I think we're going to talk more about how we're going to do that in this year and going forward. And with the new lease arrangements, both the tenants and the city are going to be responsible for the long-term capital maintenance of that public asset. So there's sort of an operational role, and then there's sort of a taking care of the building long-term role. And those are sort of logical distinctions and roles I think the two primary public partners to them have played and can play. So that's sort of my take on sort of the broad roles that we've been involved in the past, and and could also continue going forward. So, and also those amounts, understanding there's a distinction between the different partner groups and Pack Place as a whole, but both the county and the city have also made substantial capital commitments to the overall building as well as part of the art museum project, and the county, of course, we've committed hundreds of thousands of dollars to that, and was happy to support that. And I believe the city committed $2 million additional. I believe it's $2 million additional dollars to that project as well. So
you're talking about the art museum
for the art museum project,
okay.
Located as part of this this campus. So there's significant additional investments that weren't reflected there. And, and to their credit, the city has really made a very substantial contribution towards the future renovations of that part of the property.
I think I think there are times that we can look at history and relationships and learn from them and go forward. And as a member of the CRA, what I learned was that some of the agreements or not agreements among the entities weren't really very sustainable. The one that sticks in my mind the most is apparently it was an agreement among all the entities. If one group is fundraising, the other ones are not allowed to. And I would just hope going forward that more agreement can be made and more cohesion with all the entities so that we don't get tripped up and we're back here at the same time with this. It's a great time to look at history, learn from it, not repeat the same errors, and go forward in a much more sustainable way that for these wonderful, wonderful groups, they can carry on and don't have this big burden on their back wondering what tomorrow's going to bring.
All right. Any other questions about the history? Again, before we get to the current situation, and then we take public comment.
It's helpful.
Okay. Well, one thing I would say, the way I understood it, and again, we have Mayor Michael up here. He was in the middle of it when it was going on. The whole idea, as I understood it, was that we were going to help the nonprofits out, and it was a chance. They needed the help financially, and this was kind of an equal obligation that the city and county leaders at the time took on. The city took title. It could have been the county took title, but the city took title. They paid off the debt, but the debt has been paid off now, and we have a somewhat equal obligation. In recent years, it's not been equal. It's been very much, but again, the idea is not necessarily competition with the city as much as to take care of the nonprofits. And that's what at the end of the day, that's kind of what I think we should keep our eye on, is what's best for the nonprofits, to make sure that they do not suffer in any partnership dissolution. Because I think whether it was a written partnership or not, there was an agreement that we would put equal money to help the nonprofits out. So that's always been my focus. And who owns the building? Frankly, the county rarely cares who owns property. It's more about what are we doing to help our goals out. And I think that the city has assumed ownership as they're entitled to. They have the deed, and we are going to respond to that. And part of the response is going to be, at least my response is going to be based on what's best for the nonprofits, because I think that's what the original intent was. So, any other comments before we go to the current situation, including the leases that have been entered into? Okay, Mr. Deutsch.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, let me first say that over the years, Carol Deutsch and I have been big supporters of all organizations within this the facility. Can you not hear me, Mike? Okay. I was just saying that over the years, Carol and I have been big supporters, financial and otherwise, of all the organizations, and I've actually done legal work for a bunch of them, and I've been on a bunch of the boards. I haven't been on anything specific for about 10 years. So I was asked to analyze the terms of the present leases. And, just as a lawyer, look at the leases, tell them what they say, and I have provided you with this written report dated August 13th. And I'm going to just go over that generally, and then I'll be certainly willing to answer whatever questions that somebody might have. So the big difference now is the city owns the building, but they are going to be leasing directly to the Asheville Art Museum, Diana Wortham Theater, and also Coburn Earth Science Museum. And I just have it hot off the press. I just got an email just a minute ago that the Art Museum and the theater still have not signed the direct leases. And I don't know what the issues are, but I have seen the latest drafts, and the document that I sent you on August 13th was a summary of the leases that was presented to the City Council for approval. So I'm assuming that's the latest. And the biggest thing in there that I see, just to summarize, is that you now have kind of a sinking fund which the tenants are obligated to contribute to for capital maintenance. For the Art Museum, the payments are suspended for 3 years during their improvement process. But the Art Museum, the payment on an annual basis goes from $21,000 up to $38,000. For the theater, it goes from $15,000 up to $27,000.
Is it any of that deferred?
For the theater, no. Okay. I don't believe so. So if y'all remember the lease that was made to Pack Place, which was kind of an umbrella entity comprising all the organizations in there, that ended at a certain point this year. I think it was like May 31st or June the 30th, something like that. And there were allegations that the umbrella group did not carry out its obligations under the lease. They were in default under the lease because they had not done capital maintenance. So after that, there were a lot of discussions and negotiations, but the essence of it is they ended up with the direct lease. The Art Museum is going to have the upstairs. The theater is going to have the downstairs. After Coburn moves out, I think they're moving out next summer, the theater will have the whole downstairs. So you basically have two facilities, and they're each responsible for their own maintenance, but there's also common areas that they're jointly responsible for. Neither one of them has to pay any rent, as I understand it, actual rent payments. So I'm sure that the city attorney, Fred Barber, told me that the city considers the fact that they're not charging rent to be part of their contribution toward the facility. Other than that, they are long-term direct leases. They're each 30 years, and they each have two 10-year renewal options, so they could be in there 50 years each under this document. And the Art Museum has some special obligations having to do with the fact that they're going to be upfitting their facility, going through a pretty costly renovation. They have some obligations having to do with dividing the building and also complying with fire code. They have to build an elevator, et cetera, things like that. These are all listed in the summary that I gave you. They also have to fund the relocation of the historic exhibit that's in the lobby. That's up to $25,000. And the Art Museum has to pay the theater $47,000 for the theater relocating its offices and its box office. So those have all been negotiated in between everybody. I think one of the issues that I'm not 100% clear about is if this umbrella group will be there for the long term to manage the building or to do some portion of the management. But I think that has been the case in the past. Over the years, I was on the initial Pack Place board, I think back in 1980 something, whatever it was, many years ago, and the concept there was that there were these 5 tenants, and there was going to be synergy between having them all in there. together with respect to programming and other things. And the Health Adventure moved out. We all know what happened with that. The Art Museum wanted to and needed to expand to carry out its mission. The theater has been very, very successful, and they want a larger space, so they're going to move over just a little bit. And they now have these direct leases. So I think that will conclude my summary. I'll be happy to answer anybody's questions.
So so your understanding of the current arrangement is that the city will not be directly contributing, but providing free rent for the tenants of the building as part of their contribution.
Well, yes, and the city will be paying for part of the capital maintenance.
Okay.
As I understand it, the amounts that are identified as the required contributions from the partners, when you look at the whole life cycle of a public facility like this, I think it's great that there will be, taking some responsibility for that, but that the long-term estimated maintenance costs for the public facility, are significantly greater than this. So this represents a fairly an important, but I believe a minority percentage of the long-term estimated maintenance costs for the facility, so that the majority of the long-term capital maintenance costs for this facility will be directly coming from the city.
So with this arrangement, does the city sublimate the role of Pack Place Board then? Does the city take that place?
I think so in terms of the maintenance. I also think that the umbrella group used to do maybe some joint programming or some joint fundraising or some joint consultation among the partners, and I'm not certain that the city's going to be doing that. I would agree with what Commissioner Newman said about the city will be contributing substantial funds for long-term capital maintenance.
I thought I saw in the paper where the city, that like Diane Wortham and them, it's like they're, for as maintenance, they're contributing to the city like $139,000, maybe my numbers are totally off. Both of them are contributing to the upkeep of the properties. They may get the rent free, but they're actually putting money back into it.
I think that if you add up the amount that's on Exhibit C in the lease for what the organization or the tenant is required to pay into the reserve fund, I think it's approximately that amount.
So money is going into a sinking fund for the Art Museum and Diane Wortham, right?
Yes, but the Art Museum does not have to pay for 3 years while they're upfitting.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if they're going to be adding that on at the end of that time or if they're just relieved from that obligation. It's not 100% clear from the lease.
Okay, so the city is taking over those buildings, assuming the landlord position, having leases. And so if there's additional funds, then it stands to reason, if that sinking fund is not enough, because that's just an estimate, if that sinking fund is not enough, then the city would be called upon to do X, Y, or Z to that,
yes,
to that
and
building.
That is the likely scenario if you kind of look at the extent of the building and the age of the building and the needs of the building, and you do the math. The city will be responsible to take care of that very public, very important asset, and absolutely must do that. But that's how that will roll out in the future. Nobody knows when. We don't know when. Some things you can plan, some things you can't.
So the lease is, in a way, making everybody have more of an active role in that property, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and also and something I did not. Yes, and also something that I did not tell you, that I want to, is that that the lease provides that the funding of the capital maintenance sinking fund will be reevaluated every 5 years. So they have to renegotiate it, I think, either based on experience or some evaluation of the building or some kind of maintenance plan. It says based on the conditions existing at the time of the reevaluation.
Is there any cap on that?
On the
renovations that can be, the additional renovation cost to these two tenants that can be every 5 years? Is there any cap that we're not going to go above a certain amount because it might crush you?
No, it just says that if they do not change it, that the funding levels stay as for the first 5 years. The other thing is that there's an arbitration provision in there if they're not able to agree. So they have to have an arbitration.
Okay.
Also, another thing that I overlooked before, I'm sorry, is that there is a provision that Asheville Art Museum shall timely pay its share of all taxes with respect to the premises. And I'm not certain what, if any, taxes will be applicable to this facility since it's owned by the city. There might be sales tax having to do with the gift shop, or there might be some kind of that if some sort of private business is in there occupying part of the space. I'm not certain exactly what that means.
But there'd be no property taxes? Presumably.
I don't believe there'll be any property taxes.
All righty. Any other questions about the current situation? Any comments before we're going to take some, we don't have a public hearing, but we're going to take some public comment.
And I'll go.
We'll be able to talk
I have
about
some.
about her.
Dr. Green? Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Hello over there, Dr. Green.
Okay, if you're ready to talk about the funding for a minute, Judy, if you could put up the PowerPoint. I want to just give you a little bit of history and where we are and how things have come to be in fiscal year 2015. The Pack Place, when you add the utilities to it, submitted a request for $428,000 worth of funding, and that went to the CRA. And CRA approved $409,076. See if this works. Out of the $409,000, YMI is also a partner in this organization. So since there were so many changes taking place in Pack Place proper, we segregated the YMI funding, and it's to pay for their insurance and janitorial, which is something that has been paid for with this funding source for a while. So that left $390,000 for Pack Place proper, which includes the Art Museum, Diana Wortham, and Colburn. And when we look at how that breaks down, the utilities at this point in time are still in Buncombe County's name, have been for a number of years. And we estimate those at about $185,000. We always, if we have savings on those, we do pass the savings along to Pack Place for their operations. So when you extract that amount, it left $205,000 to work with for the rest of their request. There are several recommendations that I hope you will consider. One is, it is time for someone to take the utilities into their name, whether that's the city or one of the partners, and we need someone to tell us through that partnership who that will be, and we'd like to have those changed into that organization's name on January the 1st, and whatever money is left in the $185, we will of course provide to that organization to pay those utilities. So that's one of the things that we need to have happen as we go through this process. It was a couple of things happened in the March timeframe when we were putting the budgets together, especially working at CRA. The maintenance, operation, and insurance portion of the budget, I received a document that I thought was inclusive of all of the common space and what it would take to maintain and operate those. But it was very intense at that period in time, and I misunderstood that was the amount. So when I went back and looked at the Pack Place request, the request for maintenance, operations, and insurance is $180,969. So my suggestion to you is that we need to land closer to that number for them to be able to make it through the year. My second recommendation is that we distribute this money to the partners, the Art Museum, Diana Wortham, and Colburn. And we do it based on the percentage of occupancy in the building, which is 55% for the Art Museum, 10% for Colburn, and 35% for Diana Wortham. I think it accomplishes a couple of things. One is they all have some skin in the game at that point in time, and they really are now the managers of that building. I mean, they're the tenants. They need to manage how they see maintenance operations, everything going forward. So, whatever amount that you agree upon, I really am recommending to you that we distribute it in that format. I did receive a great letter from them today. I think you did too. I mean, they're very willing to work together. It was a very nice letter. And then the other part that I'm not recommending for the entire year, when you look at the balance of the budget they submitted for facility maintenance, it's about $3,925 a month. The management of the facility now really feels to me like it belongs to the partners, not an oversight or umbrella board. I do know that they've incurred expenses for a couple of months, and I would like to ask that that you help me request from them they provide us a detailed invoice for those expenses for the last 2 months, and then that we cease our payment on that portion of the request. What that does for us is it gives us an overall savings of $16,257, and I would just ask that you set that aside as a reserve in case you see a need for it as the year continues. But overall, I mean, between the savings and the reduction in what we provided them from their request, it's about a $35,000 difference, what they wanted and what they will get, but from one period to the other. There's many pieces in all of this. A recommendation on changing the power, a recommendation on how we would distribute the funds, and then the big decision that how much will we provide them. And I think if we back this up, I'm sorry, it's actually showing on this side. It'll come on this side in just a second, I hope, so you can see it. I do think they need the $180,000 in order to transition through the year. I think it's a big time. I think a lot's been going on. It is what they requested. It just does not fund facility management. It funds maintenance operations and insurance. I'm happy to answer any questions. We've been through these numbers a lot of different ways. We've looked at them, talked with the partners, had a lot of feedback in the last couple of days. So I'd answer any questions that you have about any of the information that we've brought to you tonight.
I think probably since last January, Packed Place, I don't know that there's not been a day that Packed Place has not come to my mind. And it's with very mixed emotions, because a lot of people created this wonderful, wonderful entity and created it to be where we are now. But I think it would be the best move going forward is I'd like to make a motion to fund $180,969 and disperse it in that ratio that you had suggested, and to add to that to change utilities.
Thank you.
Okay, so your motion, let me make sure we have this. Your motion is to take the amount the Cultural Recreation, the CR Authority recommended, and pull out the management fee.
Yes.
Of 39, right at 48,000 a year, something like that.
And I am recommending that we pay the July and August portion of that, because they've already incurred those expenses.
Okay, pay for what's already been incurred, and then go with the rest of it and disperse it to the parties other than the utilities. Is that
correct?
Okay.
Question.
Yes, sir.
So we're dealing with 3 different things here?
Yes.
So what does this cover? So we're dealing with power, we're dealing with distribution of funds, and then we're dealing with how we provide in the future. So is this dealing with the first 2? This motion?
I think that deals with all the motions that we need to change utilities, to set an amount of funding, and distribute it based on a specific method, and then to pay the management fee for 2 months. I think that's what I heard. It's what I asked.
I think, Commissioner Belcher, we've approved a budget that included it in there for the whole amount. I think your motion is basically the management fee comes out, and then we follow recommendations of the county manager as far as getting utilities in another name, paying the Pack Place Board back for the expenses they've already incurred, YMI $19,000, and then we're basically $16,000 less than we had at the beginning.
And the YMI you've dealt with when you actually adopted the budget, so that's separate. That was just informational.
Okay, is that
that's
is
not
that answer? Hold on. Commissioner Belcher.
Yeah, there's one does that provides an end date so that at that point in time, as Chairman and others have mentioned about how we all feel about, these different entities. Some at higher levels than others, and but in very caring fashion going forward, these will be dealt with just as a point of information. If I'm not correct, when we do community funding grants, when we do, whatever they're called, contracts, or the people will have an opportunity to come and raise money in whatever method they choose to at that point in time.
Yes, this deals with 2015. If they wanted funding in future years, they'd have to apply for it, just like what they have in the past.
So the end date's January 1 is when the check's written, but it's basically through the end of the year, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's included in the language, right?
It is.
Okay.
The January 1st date is just utilities.
Commissioner Jones.
So I think we've covered the big things in this motion: the utilities, the 180,976 or whatever it is, and the 2 months of facility management to kind of make the past expenses whole. And I was just wondering if I could put in a friendly amendment about, in terms of the dispersant, that the square footage is the fallback, but if all three partners can come have a different approach and they're all on the same page and they come to us together, that would be the way we would disperse it. If that's not possible, we do with the square foot, but we give this partnership an opportunity. If they're, I know there's a lot of good conversations with management entities, and they're working together. So if we could have that flexibility in that amendment, okay.
Okay, so you've made a motion, you've accepted a friendly amendment, so I'm taking that's a second.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, so, all right, is that right procedurally? We going base here? Okay.
Don't you
all
have
right,
to?
There's been a motion, a second. Is there any, before we hear from the public, is there any questions about what has been proposed here in this motion and this recommendation?
I have one question.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Newman.
Dr. Green, in terms of the utility costs for the facility, how long does the county pay the cost that we currently pay directly? How long have we been doing that? Quite a while.
Quite a while. Actually, we started it like 2006 or 2007. It was prior to Donna's first numbers in there.
So could you just share a few more thoughts about, we're gonna talk about, what we're committing to for this current budget year, but obviously, I think part of this is relevant to, what do we want to do going forward, as well, kind of laying the foundation for that. So, if the county is going to continue to have a role in terms of providing annual operating support for kind of the core functions of, keeping the doors open and that are needed for Pack Place. What are your thoughts about why you would recommend that we not? Because maybe utilities continue to be a part of this, whether it's in our name or in someone else's name. There's going to be this financial need to heat and cool and keep clean this building. So, if that's something that we may be very well continuing to play a financial role in, then, is there not some logic to just keeping that in our name, or what's your reasons for recommending that it be in a different entity's name?
The biggest reason, I think, is when you get the bill, you're a little more conscious about how you use the utilities.
Can't disagree with that. So, and is that the primary reason for this? And I know in real estate management, that's always, it's good for utilities to belong to tenants in a certain sense. So you do kind of feel that you own it. You want to make that number as small as possible. But I guess I just don't want to send the signal that, although we want to encourage conservation, a conservation orientation with the utilities, that we are necessarily saying this is the last time that we ever, contribute towards helping take care of that piece of the operations. I mean, if we do that, let's make a deliberate decision to do that, but I don't want to kind of send a backdoor signal that we're not going to help in that way going forward by shifting it to someone else's name and then saying, hey, that's no longer part of what we would consider helping with.
Yeah, my major reason is the ability to conserve, and I do think when the renovations start, there'll be even greater ability to conserve once the art museum's renovated. There was a year that we cared for that building, and there are a lot of opportunities to improve utility usage in the building.
And I feel pretty strongly about the utilities, because I think for someone in Barnardsville, for someone in Sandy Mush, I think the level of transparency is much clearer. If we decide we're going to fund this much money, then that's what we do. But as you said, having to me, the utilities is very murky, and I think it's better to, and next year we can decide what, but in no way am I saying I don't want to contribute more, but I think it's just for transparency, I think it's much better to get them out of the county's name.
Well, at the same time, I think we're all agreeing that, well, probably on this first part we are, that the model currently the way it is not working. So that's why this whole thing's being redone. We all may not agree on this, but I want to say it. We're not sending the signal that there's a check for X, Y, or Z, and I don't think that was your intention when you said that. I think that that next year, if there's any participation at the county, then there's ways to do that, and it's based on a vote and based on how it's presented and who wants to be sympathetic with that. But we all know that it's not sustainable the way it is right now. So I think that's what these motions are for, and I think it's done in a compassionate way, personally. So
Well, just to follow up on that, so I guess it's sort of just speaking for myself, and obviously we can't tell future commissions what to do on this stuff, but I mean, my hope would be that for public facilities like this, that we do kind of have an intention to be a long-term partner, in this. That this is not something that every year people have to wonder, is the county going to be involved or not? I hope that we have a long-term commitment. What exactly that amount is, year to year, I agree. People have to ask the tough questions and make sure money's being well spent during every budget cycle. But so I certainly do want to. I would want to send the message that we do want to encourage ways to find operational efficiencies. If we can figure out ways to bring, to help manage the county's long-term financial commitments to the operations and find ways to bring that number down, just as we do in all of our public facilities. I think we absolutely want to encourage that. But I don't want to send a message that this is the last year you can kind of count on Buncombe County to be one of the core partners to operate Pack Place. In these important public operations that, in a lot of ways, I think actually have been and continue to be a tremendous success. And so, not to say we can't find ways to do it better, but I think there's a lot more going well there than not going well. Despite the
I thought the letter from the partners today was really good.
Commissioner Fryer?
I think we have been a good partner to Dinewortham, to all of them. And, when the city took over, basically they took over because some of the maintenance on the building wasn't taken care of with money that we basically gave them for that part. That's part of the 200-some-odd thousand after the 180. So, I want to help them. I know, as far as Dinewortham, my brother, there's money goes there every year for dance. And that's just the way that is. But we all have to roll back a little bit. Everybody, if you put a car on the lot and you put a price on it for $400,000, but that's the price, and you throw it up on the wall. Somebody comes along with $350 and you can make it work. Then if you've made money, you go ahead and sell that car. So they have to work as hard to help the county taxpayers, which they're our boss. and we want to help them as much as we possibly can. So, and Brownie's right. They need to look at the issue of these, the numbers as far as the electricity and all that, and see what they can do to back it down. Or, if county staff or Mr. Israel's group can go in there and give them an ideas, please, we need to do that part to try to, and that way they can come out with more money. And as far as county, I still want to help.
And I want to be clear too that I am very supportive of these. They provide a great benefit to the county, and this is in no way saying that we're pulling the rug out from under them. This is we're trying to deal with this model as best we can, and again, I think the motion is made in that spirit. So.
Okay. Any other questions before we hear from the public a little bit?
We'll revisit this.
We'll revisit. We'll have another period after we hear from the public and see if there's any differences here.
No,
Thank you.
revisit.
Any members of the public wish to be heard? Yes, sir, in the back. Then Mayor Michael. Yes, you're not in the back. Third row, I guess.
Chairman Gant, council members, Dr. Green. My name is Hardy Holland. I'm the chair of the Dinah-Wortham Board. And I am here with my fellow members and partner members. I'd like Pam Myers, the executive director of the Asheville Art Museum, to stand. I'd like John Ellis, the executive director of our organization, the Dinah-Wortham, to stand. And unfortunately, Vicki Ballard had other obligations, and she told me to tell you that she's here in spirit. And I was asked by all of the tenants, we'll call them, to come to you tonight in a spirit of cooperation and asked to read to you a letter that you've obviously already received. So with your indulgence, I would like to read the letter. We are writing to ask for your support of art and education and science for the people of Buncombe County through your continued commitment to the partners located in what we know as Pack Place Center. Together, we ask for Buncombe County support at the level it has been provided for the fiscal year 2014-2015. We are committed to being excellent stewards of the support of Buncombe County residents. The form of the partnerships in Pack Place Center has changed many times over the last 20 years. The missions of our organizations have not changed. Actually, they've actually expanded. The partners are working closely together to develop the most efficient and effective structure for partnering over the next decades. In a forward-thinking and present way, Buncombe County, the City of Asheville, corporations, foundations, and individuals came together in the late 1980s with an idea to revitalize our community through cultural and educational programming located in the center of our county. The resulting partnerships, attendant collaborations, multiplicity of programs and their economic and educational impact have far surpassed even the most ardent of the founders' ambitions. In the 22 years since the opening of Pack Place Center, bringing together the Asheville Art Museum, the Colburn Earth Science Museum, the Health Adventure, the YMI, and creating the Dinah-Wortham Theater. These organizations have served millions of students, teachers, family, and individuals of all ages from every single corner of Buncombe County and Western North Carolina. Support from Buncombe County has been critical to ensuring that services these partners provide are available to all county residents by supporting utilities,
Mr.
custodial.
Hahn, in my discretion, I'm going to let you finish your letter since you're speaking for other people. Go ahead, sir.
These organizations serve millions of students, teachers, families, and individuals of all ages from every corner of the county. Support from Buncombe County has been critical to ensuring that the services the partners provide are available to all county residents. By supporting utilities, custodial, and daily building operation, the county has enabled the growth and the strength of our programming capabilities of our organizations. Working together with your support, we know we can continue to provide the excellent services that Buncombe County residents need and cherish. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Mayor Michael.
Before you start the clock, can I broach the subject of history?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry. If you could, I'm going to give you the same. I'm going to give you the same time as the other gentleman. You got about 5 minutes.
When you look at those millions of dollars the city and county put up, keep in mind that a 15-member board was appointed, 9 at large throughout the community, and 1 from each member of the organizations that made up Pack Place. So they've been running this building very well for in excess of 20 years, and were it not for the art museum's greed, that would still be in place. The city, by its policies, has kicked out the Coburn. So the fact that we're talking about the Coburn doesn't make any sense. They can't live with what's going on there. For over a year, I have spoken out against the financial support of the Asheville Art Museum by Buncombe County, the City of Asheville, and Buncombe County Tourism Authority. The combined cost to these governmental entities currently stands at approximately $3.75 million. The Asheville Art Museum, with the assistance of Vice Mayor Hunt, Mayor Meinhammer, City Manager Gary Jackson, have plotted to show that Pack Place Board has poorly managed the building, thus requiring that City of Asheville directly lease the Pack Place building to the tenants. The Asheville Art Museum communicated with members of the Asheville City Council and city staff that a direct lease was needed between the city and the art museum in order for the museum to have donors to their capital fund drive, when the truth is that the art museum did not want to be a part of the way the building was managed by the tenants and the community appointed board. The city of Asheville has terminated the lease with Pack Place for the land that the Pack Place building occupies, thus converting the Pack Place building to the ownership of the city. The manner in which the lease was terminated by the city is not legal according to the attorney for Pack Place, thus opening this matter up to a lawsuit sometime within the statute of limitations time frame. Since the city of Asheville has advertised the fact the building is city property and it will lease directly to the tenants, I see no reason for the county commissioners to fund operations of a city-owned building or capital improvements for the Asheville Art Museum. Realize that the city's $2 million doesn't come into play until 2017, and the city's made no provisions for any operations of that building. They got you, folks. I have provided the City of Asheville, the County Commissioners, and the Tourism Development Authority information that I feel shows the potential the Art Museum will go bankrupt, pursuing their dream to spend millions of tax and donated dollars on renovating the building.
I'm going to give you another minute, Mayor, if you can finish.
If the Asheville Art Museum wants to spend themselves into bankruptcy, that's their business, as long as they don't use tax dollars from the city, county, and Tourism Development Authority. This also shows me that there needs to be better oversight of nonprofit corporations that benefit from tax dollars. I'm not against art. I'm against the tactics used by the Asheville Art Museum to acquire tax dollars for their renovation boondoggle, taking actions leading to the ousting of the Coburn Earth Science Center Museum, violating their partnership agreement with Pack Place and the other tenants, and working to seek the demise of Pack Place Education, Arts and Science Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other public comment? Mr. Hay?
Ready? My name's Edward Hay. I'm chair of the board at Pack Place. And I'd like to start here. For 22 years, Pack Place has been operated under the partnership you've discussed with the city and the county and Pack Place. And some remarkable things have happened down there. Millions of people have passed through Pack Place. The partnership worked very, very well. And over the years, we have dealt with problems. We have had partners leave. We have done a number of different things to try to keep going. And each year, the county has been there for us to help us out. The county has been steadfast in its support of Pack Place and keeping its promise all these years. And for that, I'm very grateful, and the Pack Place Board is very grateful. The city has chosen to go down a different path. And as a result, the reaction is that the county is now doing a funding that's a different nature than what we've done before. I understand that, and we have always seen our number one role to be good stewards of the county's money. When the CRA grant was passed with the proviso that Pack Place was to be the dispersing agent, we took that as an affirmation that the county has trusted us to operate the facility all these years, and they continue to trust us. And so as we have planned for the upcoming year, we took that into account. As of yesterday, there's a change, and that is that this Pack Place will not be on the receiving end of the funds, but instead the partners will do that. I understand that's okay. We had planned for something much different than that, but we can make different plans. The transition that's going through at Pack Place, however, is going to be difficult because we're taking 22 years of common experience and trying to move it into something different, taking our instructions in part from other people. We need some time to get that done. We have a committee that was working hard on all these transition issues to refigure the management, the administration of the facility, and making good progress, but they're not there yet. And we just need some more time to get that done. I am concerned that as of the change, I appreciate the 2 months, and the 2 months that we've talked about, July and August, responsive to, I think, some things that we brought to your attention about what we've been doing for the last couple of months. If we could have some flexibility in that, we have to pass on 22 years worth of duties and responsibilities and all that to the partners now. It'll now be their responsibility to do that. We have a number of different administrative issues to wind down Pack Place as an organization, including laying off 11 employees. So we have some work to do. I don't know if we can do it in the next week. And if we could have some flexibility on the funding, that would be a big help. And I'd like to just leave that issue open as best we can. The biggest problem that we see from our end in light of the new change.
I'll give you another minute. Go ahead. Okay.
The biggest problem is that we need to tie together the old administration with the new administration. And we need to, the partners will now, as of yesterday, need to figure out how they're going to manage the building themselves within their own programs. That's not something they know how to do right now. We're going to take some work, and it's going to take more than a week. So that's the big issue, I think, that faces Pack Place. Once again, let me just say that the county's role for 22 years has been important and steadfast, and we couldn't be more grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hay. Mr. Starkey?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Starkey. I'm the founder and general director of the Asheville Lyric Opera. As I have stated before at the CRA, and I state here again in front of the full commission, there is no scenario where Asheville and Buncombe County is proud to have a world-class opera company of its size and its caliber if it wasn't for Pack Place and Dinah Wortham Theater. That being stated, all the investment that has been made, that we have seen the numbers before us, I believe has not only fulfilled the original mission of those organizations that we spoke of, the Health Adventure, the Art Museum, Dinah Wortham Theater, Colburn Earth and Science. It has also facilitated the Asheville Lyric Opera and every other incubated organization that has been able to exist, to live, and experience this building. That being said, I would like for us to also understand that the challenges that we are facing, the Pack Place Board is facing, the Dinah Wortham Theater, the Art Museum, the Colburn are facing, these are evidences of our success. These are not evidences of our failure. We have something to argue about. we have something to be challenged with. Thusly, we will certainly understand the value of moving forward. Ed Hay is absolutely correct. Time is necessary. The Asheville Art Museum, the Dinah Rhythm Theater, and the Colburn mission have been to be facilitators of their organizations. It has not been for them to try and run a building. That's what the Pack Place Board has been a part of. This is a great challenge and a great success story. Why? Because we are holding everyone accountable. This exercise that we have here, the exercise that the city is holding us, this is an exercise of bringing us all, even the Asheville Lyric Opera, has to be attended to understanding the protocols and the policies of this new building and its organization. So I want you to take into consideration, how do we not only help them right now, but how do we do the right kind of operational assessment, and how do we set a future of new ideas? That's what we are really proud of in this community. It was a new idea for Pack Place to come along 22 years ago. Now it's the time for a new idea of how these organizations have matured and will lead the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Starkey. Mr. Rice, anybody want to speak after Mr. Rice? Yes, ma'am. Ms. McGuire will be next.
I guess me and Mr. Michael Love, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I think Mr. Michael Love and myself are in the minority when we come to this decision. If you go back and look at the videos that we've done over the months, you're going to see who's on first, what's on second, who's on third. Nobody knows what they're doing. They've got, if you call it intelligence, I'm going to call it something else. But when you got this Pack Place board sitting in there, and you watch these videos, they don't even know who's on first. Not even the leader, not even the lawyer in the room. These decisions are made in the back room, and they're doing it at fast speed. Now, to me, it's another duplicate coming here today looking at you county commissioners trying to make decisions, and your lawyer ain't even up to speed himself. He's still got things to talk to you about. To me, if you're educated, you're smart, you're intelligent, it would show in this room, and it'd show at Pack Place Board. It's a shame for me as a citizen to sit and see people that can't make a decision because they're not informed. Now, Pack Place Board, 20 years ago, I didn't see any numbers of dollars that was put up here for the past 10 years. Not talking about the new that you're presenting, but what was you given back then? This has been a side in the county commission, and I've got it on video 5 years before it ever come to the video here. They were some knockdown, drag-out things. I'm not saying this is a bad thing for the art and the theater and all this. I'm for education. But times have changed. There are things being done differently. We got a science school now over at Buncombe County. Things are being done different than what they used to be done. We're not thinking out of the box. When the city takes a fight on for the taxpayers to have to foot the bill, something is awry about what the city is wanting. This property is no different than the county property. It needs to be turned back over to the county taxpayers and get the money and quit putting the burden on the taxpayers to pay the bill. The nonprofits is putting the taxpayer at risk. They're putting our old people and everyone else, our young people, at risk to even be able to live here in order to get a fine, fancy, beautiful something on the corner of Pack Square. My question is this: has it really been thought out? We're living in a very small town, a very small corner, and what is the population going to be and what's going to happen on down the road? I don't think yous have investigated it.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other public comment tonight? Yes, ma'am, Ms. McGuire. Anybody want to speak after Ms. McGuire? Mr. Ellis?
Good evening, and thank you, Commissioners. I'm Kim McGuire, and I just wanted to take a moment to remember my father, Roger McGuire, who was the founder and had the dream of starting Pack Place. And it's been a long road since 1992. Bob Deutsch mentioned it. I think possibly being on the early board and other folks here have been through a lot of these challenging times. Collaboration is hard. It was hard at the beginning. It's continued to be hard. But a lot of great things have come out of this, as has been referred to. The goal of Pack Place, when it began, that goal has been achieved. And the goal of catalyzing and revitalizing a dormant downtown and establishing arts and culture and education as the centerpieces of our community, that has happened, and that's something really to celebrate. There are different ways to view the change that is before us, and the way that I like to think about it is that this is an evolution of Pack Place, and it is showing that there's positive growth for our community, for our residents, and for our visitors. So I just want to say thank you to you all for being there from the start and through the hard times and the good times, and that it's much appreciated, and it's going to be a bright future for Pack Place. Thanks in large part to you. Thank you.
Mr. Ellis, anybody want to speak after Mr.?
I would add that I'm a proud member of the Asheville Art Museum Board.
Thank you. Anybody want to speak after Mr. Ellis? Yes, sir. In fact, David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is John Ellis. I'm Managing Director of the Diana Wortham Theater at Pack Place, and these have been kind of interesting, challenging times. I kind of like the good reports section a bit earlier, and I know we're going to be there someday. And I want to thank the county and the city for this long-term relationship of local government and nonprofits, of local government and helping create a facility, helping maintain and operate that facility, and then letting the tenants, the nonprofits in it, make it come alive for the benefit of the city, from its initial purpose, from downtown revitalization, to what it is now, one of the most active cultural centers in the state and of Western North Carolina. So I want to thank you for that continued support. Transition is tough. Transition is tough. We do have 22 years of city of operations to unravel. And so I do echo the thought. This is going to take some time. We are doing the best we can to make it happen as quickly as it can, but we are not, whereas in the past we have been devoted to our own organizations and putting on the presentations that we do, we are now assuming this new role of building management and working that out. And this will take some time, and it will consume a bit of us. So again, I just wanted to thank you for your past support. I want to thank you tremendously for this continued support that you've shown over these past few months and the last 24 hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Yes, sir. Anybody want to speak? Any other comments? Okay.
Hi, my name is David Legleason. I'm on the Board of Trustees for the Asheville Art Museum. And first of all, I'd just like to thank you all for your support today and your continued support. I've been pretty intimately involved with some of the other members here in terms of lease negotiations with the city, and also in terms of the new process moving forward. And I think it's really critical at this juncture that the county continue to support us in Pack Place, and also that they continue to support us in the future. These organizations here in the county are centrally located and very, very important to the entire community of Buncombe County, and not just for the city of Asheville, and not just for a few elite people. It really does cross all sectors. I'm a parent of young children, and my daughter was on the stage last spring for her first ballet recital. My son goes to the museum and plays in the play space. He's a gem nut, so he wants to go down the Colburn and look around the gems. It really is a community organization, I think, that touches a lot of different aspects of all of our lives. And I just want to say also, we are very, very committed moving forward to being fiscally responsive. A lot of the members of our board on the Asheville Art Museum and a lot of the members of the other boards involved are business owners in Asheville. We are taxpayers, and we see our role as being good stewards of taxpayer money, and we want to work hard to get that done. moving forward. And I think that you guys have done a tremendous job and should be proud of the commitment you made over the last 20 years, and hopefully it will continue. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Any other members of the public wish to be heard on the Pack Place allocation question before us? All right. If none, we'll close that out. We've got a motion and a second. Any other commissioner, based on our comments, wish to be heard on what we're going to do next?
Commissioner?
Sir, Commissioner King.
I'd like to address the issue of taxpayers. We do try to be very careful with tax dollars and do our very best with those. But there are many, many people who support these institutions, the Art Museum, Diana Wortham, and Colburn, who are also taxpayers and have every expectation to think that we would invest those tax dollars in these ongoing efforts of the Asheville Lyrical Opera, the Asheville Art Museum, and the Diana Wortham. And I would like to also thank the Pack Place Board for their past efforts, but it is a new day, and these entities are coming together and hopefully moving on to a better place. And it is a testament that Pack Place has survived all these years, and it will continue to survive and flourish. But I'd also like to point out the importance of these, whether you visit the Art Museum or whether you are at a lyrical opera or any other venue at the Diana Wortham, or some of this the general venues and activities that happen at Pack Place. You are benefiting by these. This board has been very active in supporting schools. We've supported 4 new schools. We've been very aggressive in recruiting new industry. And we've also, in this process, looked toward creating a better quality of life in Buncombe County. And part of that quality of life is these institutions, and will continue to be part of that quality. We cannot attract new visitors, businesses, and people to locate here. We need all of those. And that's why I vigorously support the Art Museum, the Lyrical Opera, and also Diana Wortham, because they are a vital part of making our community whole. And I just want to put my support behind this.
Okay. Any other comments? I guess I'd just like to say this, folks. If you put up that screen of the money, you know, it is an evolution. I like what Ms. McGuire said. It's an evolution, and we've got to really look at it that way. From the beginning, every nickel of the county money went in there to help the nonprofits. And the structure was to go through Pack Place Board. The structure. Can you get that money part up there? That's a point I want to make sure we get. In the business, the people that
support you. The problem and the heartburn I've had is the numbers. You know, the whole thing was set up to help the nonprofits. We're going to put approximately the same amount of money. And now we have the county of Buncombe, and for 18 years I've supported this, has $9.5 million. You can look at it 2 ways. You could say that's in a building we don't own. Or you can say I'm going to say it's for the nonprofits that we've supported under our partnership, whether it's written or not, over the years. And the city has 7.1, and if you look, out of the past 6 years, they put $200,000 in. Now, I think the city's position is Commissioner Newman intimated, is that basically we're going to give you rent free. Well, we help pay for the building. We have more ownership, if you look at that, the number there, than the city does. Now, it's not a competition because, again, the focus has to be on the nonprofits. But that bothers me. That bothers me, and I think Commissioner Newman, good point.
They paid it off. That's what they agreed to do. And as of 2009 on, they are still in compliance with what the understanding was. As we evolve, that's part of the evolution in my mind. Part of the evolution is the Pack Place Board, how these folks have worked hard to make it happen. Part of the evolution is the decision of the Health Adventure to go out and basically crash and burn. Part of the decision is going to be what Coburn's going to do. Part of the decision is going to be, of course, the Art Museum has we'll see where we come out with TDA next month about how that's going to work as far as the funding part of that. Diane Wortham, we talk a lot with all of you. So we want to see you work together. We want to see this thing work and evolve into a way that makes sense for you but doesn't run any of you out of business. And that's the heartburn I have about this whole thing. We've nurtured you to $9.5 million over the past 22 years. And we want to see, obviously we didn't do that for any reason other than to see you succeed. So we want you to succeed. I'm going to support this. Next year, I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have an election in between. We don't know who's going to be sitting up here. But I think everyone wants to support you. But for your part, work hard to figure out the evolution that Ms. McGuire talked about, because that'll make it much easier to make decisions here. Because right now you got a line item. Because the city has dissolved the partnership, there's no line item for you anymore. And so we're going to have to, we'll approach it differently by necessity next year. Don't know what will happen, but please, please, please work together. Diane Wortham, Art Museum, Coburn, work together. Pack Place Board, you got to figure out where you fit in here. But we also have to be stewards of the money, and everybody here believes in that too. I think we've been good partners. We have done everything we said we were going to do, and it's just we got to move on today. So that's my 2 cents. Anybody else have any comments?
I would.
Yes, ma'am.
I would feel very, very, very remiss if we did not celebrate the creators of Pack Place Board. We weren't a part of the city we weren't a part of the city's decision to change this, but without the visionaries that started this Pack Place Board, we wouldn't be here now. So I'd be very, very remiss, and those folks need to be celebrated, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here now.
Any other comments?
I've watched things happen over a few years too, and this is all good. But back when Mayor Worley and the city decided to take the water deal away, Buncombe County had just spent $3 million on McCormick Field. The county surrendered all the parks back to the city. The city did not pay the county back for that $3 million, so a 10-year deal for $310,000 the county paid to cover McCormick Field. So, David, you're right. We help pay for the building. Now the city's going to have to step up and help us in taking care of the properties. I don't mind putting our part in, but both entities are going to have to step up now. That's the way I look at it. Thank you.
And maybe just following up on that, on both those points, I've seen some of the information, and there's a lot of great information in the packet tonight, but maybe just one other kind of piece of information that may be useful. I think there have been some, as part of this discussion and kind of future roles, dialogue that's been going on. I think there are some estimates of sort of, for a facility of this square footage, what are the annualized capital maintenance costs estimated to be to take care of it for, decades to come. And so maybe as just a follow-up piece of information, if we could have that circulated as well, because the tenants are being asked to contribute a specific amount to that. But I do believe it's in the big scheme of things, there's a much bigger piece to that the city is financially clearly stating is their responsibility. And I think, and so maybe if there's still some, one of the questions was realistically, what is the financial role they will play in it going forward? Let's share that information, because I think it's substantial. In addition to what's not shown in the data that we just looked at is an additional $2 million that the city council has committed to this property. So, actually, if you count all of the contributions, including that, in the last several years, the city's committed more than the county. So I'm proud of the role we're playing, but there's the city is obviously very committed to the future of this property as well, and let's just get all the information out about what they've done to date and what they will do in the future.
And Madam Manager, what is the county committed to the art museum with contingencies?
We're holding $500,000.
500,000 right now today. Okay.
So we're in the game, and by 2017, we're probably going to have close to that much if people keep voting for 250. So, it'd be $1 million in 2 years, and so it goes back to the same thing. If we have that much in the game, then the city, I think we got to get it on equal terms, because they're not over here paying for this property, and we have helped pay for that property. So let's get it on an even playing field. They've asked these people to take care of the maintenance, and we're going to help with everything else. So.
Commissioner Jones?
I would also just remind everybody that a third of the taxpayers of Buncombe County reside in the city of Asheville, thus are paying for contributing happily to both entities. So I think as soon as we all really do what Pack Place is doing and grow into the future, we have seen some less than high moments at that podium, and I, for one, am happy this day is come and it will go, and we can wake up tomorrow morning with a new opportunity to go forward, and I hope we can all see a new day, because clearly, kind of retreading these old arguments is not getting us anywhere, except for just making everybody feel bad about a community that we love and by good work that's happening here. So let's go forward together and let's celebrate all the problems that we have. I like how you put that, David, in terms of like the challenges we have now are a product of great success. So I, for one, am ready to let go of all the angst that I've had, that I've heard, horrible things being said about people that I respect and care about. I'm going to let it go. And I hope everyone in this room will as well. And let's go forward as a community and think about arts, education, and science and new possibilities.
Very good. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion by Vice Chair Frost, as far as the funding, which would be to take out the management fee of approximately $50,000, $40,000, and to fund within $16,000 of the CRA request or CRA recommendation.
It's to fund the 180,969. It's to change the utilities. I'm sorry.
Let's restate it so it's good for the record.
It's to change the utilities and make those funds available to the organization that takes utilities into their name. It's to fund the 180,969 and split it based on the square footage, unless the partners come with a better solution that they all agree to.
Okay, and that was Commissioner Jones.
And then to get an invoice from them for the 2 months of management expenses they've already incurred.
Everybody understand? I've called the question.
Mr. Chairman.
I've called the question.
Okay.
Any other? Okay, I will take question. Go ahead. I'm gonna reverse myself. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just wanting to go what Dr. Green said. Could we ask that the groups involved in this, predominantly Diane Wortham and Art Museum, and also the Asheville Lyrical Opera, they're not a tenant, but they certainly have a lot of skin in this game, to come back and give us an update on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'll do that. Okay, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then the motion carries 7-0. Thank you. We have taken the Fairview Fire Department off our agenda, so now we're on board appointments. The Historic Resources Commission, we have one vacancy. I'd ask the clerk to poll the, don't say jury, the commission.
Amanda Warren.
Amanda Warren.
Amanda Warren.
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 Amanda Warren's appointed. Asheville Buncombe Community Relations Council, 2 candidates. Let's do likewise. Other side.
Well, we've only got 2 vacancies.
Oh, 2 vacancies, 2 candidates. Is there a nomination to accept Ms. Wade and Ms. Ingram?
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair. Is there any further discussion, any further applicants, any further nominations? If not, all those in favor of appointing Ms. Wade and Ms. Ingram to the Asheville Buncombe Community Relations Council, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then we are appointed those 2 individuals. Announcements. The next regular meeting of this board will be September 2, beginning at 4:30 in room 326 at 200 Cod Street in downtown Asheville. Commission meetings can be seen on BC TV Charter Cable Channel 192, ATT Uverse Channel 99, and live BC TV Channel 192 or buncombecounty.org during the meetings, or online anytime, buncombecounty.org. Mr. Attorney, I think you've indicated we needed to have a closed session. What's the purpose?
Yes, sir. It's for economic development.
Okay, and we expect any action when we return?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to go into closed session with the understanding we will not be taking action when we re-adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Belcher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Frost. Any discussion? All those in favor of going to closed session, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We're in closed session.
There was that long in your mind.
I have to go clean my house.